Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update into modern audio standards. This particular story is called The Other Place, written by 3 ducks in a man-suit. Jack Snowling was an all-right bloke. He had a decent job managing a sporting goods store, a couple of minutes bicycle ride from his flat. He got along all right with his roommates, played StarCraft too, ate pizza with his mates on the weekends, and was an attentive lover to his girlfriend Hannah. He had a dog named Amy, a border collie he had paid to get trained professionally, who was, as he often bragged, scary smart. He went to the gym 3 times a week, fantasized about being a football star, and spent a lot of time defending his decision to not get a car. An all-right bloke, a standard bloke, one like a million, nothing special whatsoever. So, why was he chosen? Why did it happen to him? What was different? Maybe someone out there knows, but it certainly wasn't him. It was Friday night, and Jack was a few ciders into a good weekend. Just enough to feel the buzz, but not enough to make it too hairy a ride back home. All his flatmates were out. Hannah was playing her weekly D&D game with the other nerds. Amy was curled up the mat fast asleep. Swaying back home from the pub, Jack was awarded a brief moment of blissful me-time, alone in a flat with nothing but a slightly cold kebab he had picked up from a place down the road with his gaming laptop. He slumped down on the second-hand office chair, scored from his old job, and was about to take his first bite when the light show started. Shades of red, black, danced around his feet, the shards of interspersed black seeming to eat the fluorescence of his bedroom lights unnaturally. Like a living shadow devouring its prey. Confused and disoriented, Jack examined the source and found a ring of glowing alien glyphs and symbols taken right out of a dime store book on the occult surrounding him. The bedroom faded, the red and black filling his vision. Vertigo struck as the room swayed like a houseboat in a storm. Then all of a sudden, all was still, and Jack was somewhere else. The ritual was a success. Aldertoff bent over double in exhaustion from what he had done, balls and knees and ears twitching madly. The other mages were huffing from the exertion of spellcasting as well, but none as great as he who had led the summoning ritual, he who had successfully done the impossible. The glow from the arcane circle faded gradually, revealing the witness what lay inside. The sight of the demon made his knees buckle. Aldertoff clutched at the fur on his chest, desperately suppressing the terror and reminding himself that the demon could not leave the summoning circle. Excitement mixed with chilling fear as the demon stood to its full height from the crouching position it had been summoned in. It was huge. It must have stood as high as 3 chullings. The creature had little hair, only reddish flesh, with huge, powerful arms and strange-colored garments draped over its magnificent body. Possibly the skins of weaker demons it had conquered. In its right hand something was clutched. Something that resembled a severed limb half-eaten. Aldertoff saw the bloody viscera that surrounded the creature's bristled maw, even as the demon wiped it off and realized it was eating. Some lesser creature from the demon's infernal home dimension had clearly been violently dismembered. The ceremony had interrupted it during its feeding. Aldertoff could only hope that this did not anger the demon. "Who dares summon me?" So loud, so magnificent. Several of the lesser warlocks dropped to their knees as the translation magic turned the demon's ancient, guttural voice into a sound that pathetic minds could comprehend. Aldertoff fought to stay on shaking legs as he responded. The demon must not see his fear. I am Aldertoff of the Dark Bristles clan. We have summoned 3 demons by the ancient rituals to do our bidding. Your might belongs to us." His subordinates looked to their elder in awe. To stand before a demon and show such courage, inspiring. The demon laughed, the dread of the sound increasing as it raised in volume, a sound deeper than any tooting could possibly emulate. It struck a deep chord in the heart of all who heard it, as if the demon could reach into their being and devour their souls with the mere sound of its voice. Then it leaned forward, and from its maw ejected a foul torrent of vile liquid. Several chullings screamed in fear. What plague was this demon bringing down upon them? The stench hit the nose of every warlock in the circle at the same time. The horrific smell of consumed flesh, of things once alive cooked in the flames of hell itself. Even Aldertoff recoiled. The flow of liquid spilled out from the demon's feet and flowed towards the edge of the circle. Then, to the terror of every intruding in the room, it overcame the barrier sigils, collapsing the wall of light and freeing the demon. There would have been more screaming and fleeing had everyone not been paralyzed with fear. The demon wiped its maw with the remnants from the dastardly attack and smiled. "Regret will be felt tonight, puny creature." It stepped carelessly forward, free of containment. When the lights finally died down to the point where Jack could see again, he had to scramble to keep his feet. The chair had simply disappeared under him. Whatever force that had dragged him into this place clearly didn't want his seat coming with it. He examined the new room that he'd found himself in as he slowly stood. It was an indoor chamber. The ceiling was high enough for him to stand in, with only a slight slouch. The room was well lit with walls decorated with pleasant swirling blue patterns. The staircase at the other end of the room went up, the only exit. He was standing in the glowing circle of glyphs, and surrounding him were a good 24 pudgy, knee-high critters that stood on 2 legs. They were covered in a soft-looking fur that ranged from light brown to pitch black. Big round eyes that stared up at him from trembling faces. The tiny ears that poked above their head fur twitching. They looked like teddy bears mixed with rabbits. They were adorable. He wiped barbecue sauce off his beard from the kebab he still had clutched in his hand as he took all of this in. But where are you? Where am I? Jack's first sentence came out with all the tipsy incoherence of a buzz dude whose quiet Friday night had just been rudely interrupted by a surprise fall into Wonderland. The creature seemed to jump at his words, as if they hadn't been expecting him to speak. They were all vibrating softly, a treble that reminded Jack of a cat purring. One of the little guys with dark fur, there must have been some form of leader, raised his little paws and spoke. Its high-pitched, squeaky voice wasn't anything resembling English, but somehow Jack understood the words. My name is Tough. From the Dark Bushes Clan. We need help. Can you help us, please? Oh, Jesus. Jack swayed on his feet, still unsteady. It was just too fucking cute. He was barely holding himself back from making that annoying squeeze sound that anime girls do. He chuckled to himself as the thought occurred to him, erupting into a guffaw as the creatures vibrated more, then finally falling to full-throated laugh as some of them literally began hopping up and down like little bunnies. Unfortunately, Jack hadn't realized that quite how the verge he was. A few glasses of cider weren't enough to make him hold his dinner. The stomach-churning trip had come close, but he held it in. Now the laughter pushed him over the edge. Jack hunched over and sent the half of the kebab he had already eaten, along with the cider and probably a few other digested things from earlier in the day, onto the floor. The creature started squeaking in alarm, sounding a bit like panicked mice. The vomit splattered all over the circle before Jack and covered several of the symbols. All of a sudden, the lights died down. Ah, crap. A pang of guilt struck Jack. He'd ruined that little circle thing. Wiping his mouth uncomfortably, Jack tried to placate with a smile and stepped forward. Sorry about that, little buddy. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholt, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.